Will the club back Ten Hag maybe to splash the cash in January for another signing? A striker, a finisher? I know January tends to be a harder window to do business in, but sometimes Bruno Fernandes transformed the club when he arrived in January.
Yeah, it's doable. You know, it's definitely doable. I think it will come down to where they are situated at that moment in time. They'll probably be planning for January and planning for, you know, the summer. But it'll all depend on, I mean, they spent 250, 60 million this last window. That's a lot of money in one window.
Yeah. Were you surprised that they spent that much?
To have some more left at the end of it, you know? Was I surprised?
That they spent that much?
It's a little bit more money than what we normally had. But it's a new manager, new ideas. It probably needed it. So to go again in January, it's a difficult one. Because if you want to improve and you want to get better players, they're usually at the better clubs. And they're normally in with a chance in their own leagues of winning something. So to give something in January will cost, one, a lot of money. But are they available? Because they usually are the better players. And they're still at a club that's not going to weaken themselves to give it to somebody else.
And the key is as well, the Manchester United, like every good club in world football, will have their list of players that they're interested in, those that they really fancy, you know, their second and third choices, but of course they don't want to go down that one. But as Mike's just said, is that player that you really want available? If he's not, are you prepared to take second best? Well, if you're Manchester United, I would suggest no, you're not. But can you wait until the summer? And then maybe the player is available, but actually might not be available then. So, you know, there's so many factors going on, and all the players that Manchester United are looking at, other big clubs are looking at as well.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it just sort of happens that way. Look at Casemiro's signing. He wasn't on the radar, we believe, for Manchester United. They were all in on Frankie de Jong, former Ajax player, former Ten Hag player. That didn't work out. There are a few other players who were suddenly thrown into the equation, like Adrian Rabiot. And then finally, after the Brentford defeat, Casemiro came into the equation. Yeah. It just felt like we couldn't get the first target, so we got Casemiro instead. And he has made a difference. He scored the goal, the equalising goal today.
I think Real Madrid would not have let Casemiro go if it didn't happen, the Tchouaméni, signing, 100%. And then it's an opportunity for Real Madrid to renew completely the midfield. You bring someone with 21, 22, you let Casemiro with 30 years old go there, not playing obviously Champions League, but he goes there, go to a team that wants to get there. So sometimes you sign, I'm not sure your case, but for example for Liverpool, I was the second option. You know, the first option actually was Clichy, that went to Manchester City.
Clichy.
Yeah, so it happens. So sometimes you cannot get your first option. It's gonna depend as well if Manchester City are able to get in the top four. Definitely they get in the top four and they want to spend the cash. Many good players in the world, they would like to join, because of the history of the club, they would like to join Manchester United.
Yeah.
But it depends. If Ronaldo leaves in January, maybe you actually go in the market and go and buy a striker. So it depends a lot on that as well, I believe.
Do you think they desperately need to?
I don't think if Ronaldo is able to manage himself and stay until the end of the season, I don't think they need to touch too much. It's always, as a manager, if you ask Ten Hag if he can improve and if you give me money, he will say, yeah, of course, give me money in January, I will spend. But I don't think they need with Cristiano. But Cristiano is going to be happy on the bench. I'm not sure about that. He doesn't show that he's happy on the bench.
You know, if you look at Ronaldo, the only time he's really ever spent time on the bench was when he was a young player in Portugal, working his way into the first team. And suddenly, I think there was one occasion this season where he sat on the bench on 5 consecutive occasions. And that's like Ronaldo feeling, well, I'm back to where I was before it all started. I think that's the problem that Ronaldo has. You know, he's finding himself in an alien position, and he doesn't like it. And that alien position is that, you know, he's now not the manager's first choice. He's now not going to start every single game. So he needs to get his head around that. And can he still give plenty to Manchester United Football Club?
Alex Shearer's written a piece about this, as a matter of fact. I'm just going to paraphrase here because I don't have the quote exactly at hand, but he was just saying exactly what you said, Gary, but also it's coming to terms and accepting the fact that maybe now you are considered normal, a normal player, not an amazing player because age catches up with us all. Father Time
No,
always
he
wins.
is an amazing player. I mean, in everybody's heads, if you like football, he's an amazing player.
But can he do what he did
but
5, 6 years
ago? The point
ago?
is now the football game is changing, the landscape changes, and that's being a professional footballer. It's happened to you, it's happened to me, it's happened to we all reach that moment where we think more deeply about our position in the game. And it's reached Ronaldo. But what Ronaldo will not do is admit yet, he's not prepared to admit yet, and quite rightly so, because once he goes into that thinking, he's now giving up everything he's ever tried to achieve, you know, and he still feels as though he's got more to give, and that's a credit to him. That is a real credit to him, that he's still got that in his psyche that I can do more, I can offer something more. How he goes about that is up to Ronaldo. That's up to him, nobody else, it's up to him.
Is it about him or the club?
Well, it's a bit of both. I mean, if you keep acting in certain ways that, you know, doesn't help, so it becomes a club matter. And I would think now, you know, from Erik Ten Hag's position, he'll be looking to the club to deal with that situation as well, you know. So right now, the onus is on Cristiano. How is he going to react to that? Yeah. And I think we're all waiting to see what that's going to be. But right now, he wasn't involved today. He's accepted that publicly. He may have to accept that as well, you know. But he's got to come back. It's, you know, he's not going to just disappear. He can't disappear yet because January's not here yet. We're still in this year. So up to now, he's still a Man United player, and he'll be thinking about that. He's not just going to dismiss that. He'll be thinking about where can he contribute, and I still feel there's a contribution there.
But I think if he accepts the role that maybe Ten Hag wants to give him, that, like you mentioned, is very difficult. I cannot even imagine how difficult it is. If it was difficult for us, imagine how difficult it is for someone.
Well, see, I think Gary mentioned it there quite clearly, and he's correct. This is a situation he's never found himself in before. Yeah. And it's hard. You know, you're talking about a world-class player, and there isn't many of them, you know, there isn't many around today. But, you know, there's a new generation probably trying to break into that. But right now, he's a world-class player who's done everything that he possibly could be to be the top of his game. Right now, the spotlight and the attention is, it's just not happening. It's just not falling in the way he wants it to fall. So now it's about your character. What have you got? What have you got to offer which is as good as you can give? And that's what the decision he's got to come up with. But don't ever think that Ronaldo will accept second best, because he's never been second best. He's been there all the time.
I'm just wondering how much of it is actually about him and how much of it is for the love of the club, because let's not forget, he made it seem perfectly clear he wanted to leave in the summer, but the offers didn't come. So I'm just thinking, a man who professes his love for the club yet at the same time wants to leave.
Yeah, it's a conundrum, that, because, you know, does he not love the club? No, I would say he still loves the club. The club gave him the opportunity to be the player he was. You know, Sporting played a part in that. Man United did. Real Madrid have done when he went to Italy. So everything's been part of this process to be the best in the world. Man United's part of that, so he isn't going to dismiss Man United, but he has to come to terms with his own inner feelings about where does he go from here? What is my next challenge? You know?
You know, any team sport, there's a bit of a conflict, isn't there? Because you're in a team, but you can't run a football team with 11 players. So there's competition between individuals. So I play right back, he plays right back. So we're competing with each other, but there will be occasions where maybe we're on the pitch together, so we have to play together, but also we have to train together. It's a bit of a balancing act that team players have to deal with.
Okay, let me ask this to you, Mike, because I should have asked this early on, I guess, but Ten Hag doesn't seem to fancy Ronaldo too much, because when he has been available, he's predominantly been on the bench. And I'm just thinking, does he fit the Ten Hag system, the pressing, the energetic striker? You could probably say no on that front.
To be on the bench. So
on the bench.
That's one thing. But I think Manchester United, right now, would be happy to have Ronaldo involved in the game at some point, because he has still got that quality to change a game. Whether the manager wants to use him from the start or the or coming on. I think he made a comment about that before, about, you know, how valuable he could be for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. That's in his game plan, you know. Whether he uses him is the manager's prerogative, and always should be.
And then if Ronaldo accepts that role as well, obviously, that's the most difficult thing. He doesn't accept the role because it's clear, like you just mentioned, Adam, it's clear that it's not his first option. That's the reality. But obviously, like we were talking about, having Ronaldo on the bench is unbelievable. He's going to accept that role. That's the question that it will be answered just in time. That we want to see it if he's going to accept that.
Well, the second part of my question about this was, did you feel whenever you put Ronaldo into the side that you had to change things tactically in order to suit him, to exploit his strengths as a player on the pitch?
Well, Ronaldo's always been an individual to some degree, because he's got the mentality to want to score goals and want to strive and feed off that. Yes, there are moments when, even at Real Madrid, he was the same. You know, it was about what he brings to the table, which was his goals. And listen, his goal-scoring record's phenomenal. I mean, you cannot pick holes in that. It's incredible. The fact of the matter is now managers have a different idea. Different managers have certain ways they want to play. You're either in that or you're not, but you can still contribute at the time. And Man United right now have Cristiano Ronaldo for a certain period of time. They would be a little bit, you know, it would be a little bit silly to not use him as part of that next phase for the new manager.
The secret for Manchester United now has to be how much and what can we get out of Ronaldo? Because they're paying him, so why have an asset like that if you're not getting anything out of him?
Yeah.
So he's been disciplined, so the law has been laid down. Now it's get him back in the fold, get him on the pitch when it's right in the manager's eyes to get him on the pitch. And I still think, given time on the pitch, he will deliver goals for Manchester United.